Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 4 of the KD Kevin Drake Show here on the Deviation Nation YouTube channel. I am your host, Kev, and today we got a lot of information to go over. We got a lot of information, but what we're going to start off with is the most important, and what transpired yesterday is Derek Carr has been benched for Jarrett Stidham for the Raiders this week. Getting Josh McDaniels in the offseason, everyone already knew that it was going to be something that is trial and error. No one fully believed that Josh McDaniels was capable of being a head coach of a football team. Everyone took the success of him as an offensive coordinator in New England with a system quarterback in Tom Brady, and just everyone who's a system player in that scheme. Derek Carr was fine. They damn near made the playoffs with an interim head coach. And there was a consensus thought that the interim head coach was going to become the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders at the end of the season. But then they went out and got Josh McDaniels. Then they got Davante Adams. Now here's the thing. The season for the Las Vegas Raiders has been very up and down. And what I mean by that is due to the fact that Hunter Renfrow got injured, Darren Waller got injured. The offensive line wasn't fully healthy from time to time. And the defense took hits left, right, and sideways as well. And so my thought process on it is just like they still had pieces. Josh Jacobs right now is the rushing leader of the league, which is crazy to think about, especially looking at their record and everything. But now there's a voicemail with Davante Adams stating that he wishes he would have never left Green Bay. There's Derek Carr being benched for Jarrett Stidham. Derek Carr apparently has walked away from the team now, so he's not even a part of practices or meetings. So now Las Vegas is in a state of dysfunction. We don't know if Josh McDaniels is going to keep his job at the end of the year. We don't know what's going to happen to the organization as a whole, because they already went through John Gruden and Mike Mayock and everything like that, but now they got Josh McDaniels. But it seems as though it looks like Derek Carr might not be able to play his last couple of games as a Las Vegas Raider. And I think that's very interesting to see. Their record isn't good, but their draft positioning won't be good either. So you're basically banking on the fact that you'll be able to get a Will Levis or a Hendon Hooker in the draft if you do decide to part ways with Derek Carr. Because even if you were to go with Jarrett Stidham next year, he's still an unknown commodity. He hasn't started a full game, even in New England when he played. So you're going to tell me that the last 2-3 games of the season, Jarrett Stidham comes in, and what if he loses those games? What if he loses these final games? Then you're going to be rushing. You're going to be like, oh, God, now we got to get draft capital. Now we got to do this. Now we got to do that. And in doing so, you're basically telling yourself you're going to go into a full-blown rebuild. There's no way you're going to keep Darren Waller at that point. Hunter Renfrow might as well be gone. You might trade Davante again. You might trade Derek Carr. Hell, you might trade Josh Jacobs. You have certain pieces around you that you can trade and get draft capital for. High draft capital at that. But at the same time, do you really want to get rid of those pieces? Do you really want to take a team that can and should be a playoff caliber team and honestly throw that away just so you could draft a quarterback and start rebuilding? Derek Carr is not a bad quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. And I think it's really bad to sit there and look at it that way. Because you got to think about it. When they went to the playoffs a few years back, he got hurt and he was an MVP caliber player. The issue is that you had to start Connor Cook against the Texans. That's what really killed it for you, you know? And they had what's his name? The 7-foot quarterback that we got from fucking Denver, Brock Osweiler. And we got him, and he didn't even last there for the Texans. So you look at all this and you're just like, what happened to the Raiders? There was so much promise. John Gruden came in, Mike Mayock came in. They started drafting. There was a few draft pieces that we were like, what the hell? But the team was working. Like, they were winning games. They were being set up for the playoffs. And then everything comes out about John Gruden. Now it seems like Mike Mayock's not making the decisions that he normally makes when it comes to the draft or player personnel in general. And then it just starts going downhill. Now you get Josh McDaniels. You get Davante Adams. Everyone's like, oh, they're for sure a Super Bowl caliber team now. And now they're not even 500. This year has been weird for the Raiders. And it's starting to become something that we're all like, what the fuck happened? You know? And I just think it's crazy because now you have Jarrett Stidham starting, especially this year. Well, these last few games. Now Derek Carr isn't a part of the team because he walked away because he got benched. Davante Adams has a voicemail to Aaron Rodgers stating he never should have left. But the issue with that is now that Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs, they're both coming into their own for the Packers, and the Packers still have a way of making it into the playoffs. They're not missing Davante that much. Maybe at the beginning of the season because of the chemistry that him and Rodgers had, they missed him. But now Watson getting better. Dobbs is getting better. The passing game is starting to become prolific. And they have a chance to make the playoffs. So now they're just like, oh, maybe we didn't actually need Davante anymore. You know? So I look at the Raiders and I'm just like, don't do it. Don't throw away everything and don't go into a rebuild when in reality you don't need to. I'd say stick it with Derek Carr unless he wants out. Reevaluate offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, even though that defense is actually really good. I would find an offensive coordinator that can take play calls away from Josh McDaniels. Let him run the team. I feel like he can run a solid team. I really do. I really think Josh McDaniels can run a team. But I don't think that he is the answer when it comes down to play calling. I think he, in situations to where they're down, he makes very bad calls. Especially in the second half, he has faltered. Like, there's been multiple different games that they should have won. Their record should be even more stellar than it is. It's just the play calling has been very subpar in the second half, and they let games get away from them. And I think that's their biggest downfall. And I think you really need to reevaluate yourself. I would give Josh McDaniels another year, but I would go into it and be like, all right, he needs to understand that he can't just like do everything. If he knows that he's not putting his best foot forward when it comes to actually play calling, then get an offensive coordinator that you trust and have him call plays while you run the team as a whole. You know, but that's just my thoughts on the Vegas Raiders and everything like that. Now let's jump over to what is going down tonight. If you're watching this on Thursday, this will be for Thursday Night Football, Titans, Cowboys. If you're watching this later, then you're already seeing the outcome. You already know who's starting and everything like that, so you could probably skip this, but it is what it is. Joshua Dobbs is starting tonight for the Tennessee Titans over Malik Willis. And I think that is very, very concerning. You spent a high draft pick. Well, no, you didn't. You spent a third-round pick on Malik Willis because he had an arm. He could run. But he played at Liberty. And that's the thing. When you have that much talent and everything, you're able to manipulate defenses when you play at a school like Liberty. In the games that he has played, it seems as though the game is way too fast for him. Now, on the other hand, Treylon Burks is starting to come into his own, but the receiving core is still very. The offensive game plan is still very Derrick Henry dependent, and teams are starting to take that away bit by bit. Don't get me wrong, Derrick Henry still gets his yardage, still gets his touches and everything like that, but there have been on multiple different occasions on third and fourth down that they handed off to Derrick Henry, and the defensive line ends up stuffing him. And that's been a reoccurring situation throughout the year. Derrick Henry on first and second down gets so much yardage, yards after catch, yards after contact, and everything, rushing yards in general. Derrick Henry gets his touches. But when it comes to third and fourth down, he gets stuffed a lot because they expect them to hand the ball to Derrick Henry. They're not throwing it. They're not utilizing the passing game like they should. And that's why the Jacksonville Jaguars are now number one in the AFC South, which is very disconcerting in my opinion. But it really shows how very Derrick Henry dependent that they are. And I think if they gave Malik Willis the right game plan and let him just go out there and ball, you would have a two-headed monster in that backfield. Because Derrick Henry, big-bodied, fast, and everything, runs over people. Malik Willis can be that too. If you incorporate the passing game and let Malik Willis throw the ball and just build him as a passer, that backfield is crazy. Because if you're scared of Malik Willis just fucking launching that ball down the field, and then on top of that, you're either handing it off to Henry or he's taking it himself, that defenses will never know how to game plan against you. Because when you have the threat of a running back as stellar and stout as Derrick Henry, and then you get a prolific quarterback that can run the ball heavy like Derrick Henry, but also throw it like Patrick Mahomes, that is something terrifying. And I think the Titans don't understand what they have. If they could build his mechanics, if they can build him as a quarterback, build him as a passer, build him as a runner, actually utilize the abilities that this young man has, I believe that the Tennessee Titans could be a force to be reckoned with. Not just in the AFC, in the NFL in general. In my opinion, not this year, next year, when the draft comes and free agency comes, get wide receiver help. Get a number 2, get a number 3. If you get 2 more wide receivers and you revolve your game plan around the run and the pass, here's the thing. Derrick Henry does not need to be CJ2K. He does not need to run for 2,000 yards. He does not need to run 35 times in a game. He really doesn't. If you can still get Derrick Henry his touches and get him over 1,500 yards in a season or even just 1,200 yards in a season, that is fine. But if you're going to sit there and look at me and tell me that having 2 1,200-yard rushers with your running back and your quarterback on top of the passing game that your quarterback could have, I'd look at you like you're crazy. The Tennessee Titans have something that I feel like could be the best offense in the league because of what Derrick Henry can do and what we know Malik Willis can do. I think starting Joshua Dobbs tonight is a huge mistake. I understand you're going up against the Cowboys. Fuck it, dude. Let Malik Willis show you what he can do. Let him go out there and ball and prove the talent that you drafted him for. I understand that this year's quarterback class wasn't highly touted like years prior. And teams took that into accountability. Kenny Pickett was the first quarterback taken. And the reason being is because of his mechanics and how he holds himself. And there were unknown commodities with Malik Willis, Matt Corral, and even Desmond Ridder. Desmond Ridder had the best mechanics out of the whole class. He sat there for 4 years in Cincinnati and ended up taking them to a playoff. Now, does he have the arm talent? Not really. But can he get it downfield? Yes. But Malik Willis was the most underrated quarterback in that class. And the reason that everyone built him up was due to the fact that he could run the ball, but he also had a cannon. The issues behind it was could he be coached? Could he build his passing game? Could he utilize the run game properly? And could his decision-making be improved? And I understand that. I really do. And I think it's going to be interesting because I feel like in the first half tonight against the Cowboys, if Joshua Dobbs doesn't perform well, Malik Willis is coming into that game. And that whole game is going to change. Cowboys defense is crazy. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think that they would be prepared for Malik Willis and Derrick Henry if utilized properly. But that's my opinion. Now, and I'm very, very confused on why people are even dropping the Eagles down. Colin Cowherd put out his herd hierarchy top 10, and he had the Eagles at 6 and had the Cowboys at 5. Gardner Minshew damn near beat the Cowboys. Miles Sanders fumbles that ball. If he does not fumble that ball, the Eagles could take him to overtime. Eagles get the ball last and could win that game. Gardner Minshew proved that team overall is good. A backup quarterback came in and took the Cowboys down to the brink. You're going to sit there and tell me if Jalen Hurts played that game, he wouldn't have put up double digits more? Jalen Hurts has a running ability that Gardner Minshew has, and his throwing is better than Gardner Minshew. Jalen Hurts starts that game, and it's a completely different outcome. But that's not taken away from Gardner, because he sat there and took the Cowboys to their limit. And if it wasn't for a Miles Sanders fumble, the Eagles are winning that game. And with everyone saying like, oh, they them boys, we them boys. Shut up. Shut up. You lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars. You lost to the Jaguars on a fucking overtime interception by Dak Prescott. You're going to sit there and tell me beating the Gardner Minshew-led Eagles by winning by one score, you're going to sit there and tell me that you expect Dak Prescott to keep playing at a high level going into the playoffs? That team is stacked. I understand that. The Cowboys are a really good team. They really are. Defense top tier, offense top tier. Dak Prescott has shown time and time again that in big spots, he falters. His decision making gets poor, and it turns into a liability. And tonight they're not even gonna have Tony Pollard. They're only gonna have Zeke. Dak Prescott's gonna have to throw this ball left, right, and sideways. It's my other point about starting Malik Willis. The Titans could actually win this game. They lost to the Texans on Sunday. They're coming into this with a chip on their shoulder. And you're going to tell me you take away one of the premier backs that the Cowboys have, and you're not going to take advantage of that and keep the ball going? Come on now. Come on now. The Cowboys are a Super Bowl team, but at the same time, they are not. I do not believe for 1 second the Cowboys make it to the Super Bowl or even the NFC Championship game. I do not believe it. My prediction for the NFC Championship game is still San Francisco 49ers, Philadelphia Eagles, with either one of those teams making it to the Super Bowl. I wholeheartedly believe that Brock Purdy can take the 49ers to a Super Bowl. Wholeheartedly believe that. Wholeheartedly. The AFC is a different story. You got to remember that. The AFC legitimately has Chiefs, Bills, Bengals. Like those three teams in general. And then the dark horse AFC teams that we know can go in there and mess around. Everyone's saying the Jags are going to be one and done making it in the playoffs. I don't believe that. I think the Jags are going to upset someone. I wholeheartedly believe the Jaguars win the wild card round and then get knocked out in the divisional. I will stand by that. Honest to God, I will stand by that. The Jacksonville Jaguars walk into the playoffs, defeat someone in the wild card, and then get knocked out in the divisional. They play upset. They are going to host a playoff game and win it, in my opinion. They're going to host it and win it. And that's the issue with the Cowboys. They're not even going to win their division. They're going to be on the road in the wild card round. It's year in and year out that everyone says the Cowboys are going to make it. And there's good reason to why they say that. The Cowboys, even when Tony Romo was the quarterback, they have always had top 10, top 5 teams. They really have. The quarterback play has always been what has plagued them. And that's what's making them falter. Romo, for how good he was, he made the same mechanical and error mistakes that Dak does. Literally. They have not drafted a quarterback in the first, second, or third round in years. Tony Romo was a fourth or fifth round pick. Dak Prescott was a fourth round pick. Think about that for a second. Troy Aikman, Roger Staubach, high picks. Or actually, I think Troy Aikman was maybe a second. He didn't have to do much because he had Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin. Tony Romo didn't have to do much either because he had DeMarco Murray, Jason Witten, Dez Bryant, Miles Austin, and a few others. Tony Romo had a team around him. Dak has the same thing. When Dak came in, he had Dez. He had Zeke. He still had Jason Witten as well. Now he's got Zeke, Pollard, Lamb, Brown, Gallup, and their tight ends. They have pieces around them. Tony and Dak have pieces around them to where they don't have to have the weight of the world on their shoulders. And for some reason, they continue to have the weight of the world on their shoulders. A lot of people are going to come on here now and they're going to be like, you talk down about the Cowboys week in and week out. I'm sorry, if you believe that I'm talking down about them week in and week out, go back and watch the footage. Go look at the box score. Go look at how Dak Prescott has improved over the years and has regressed over the years. I'm coming on here and I'm giving you my opinions and giving you my views on what the NFL, college, and everything look like week in and week out. Right now, it's very NFL heavy due to the fact of how close we are to the playoffs and everything that is amounted to the NFL season this year. And the Cowboys have proven time and time again that they are not a Super Bowl team, even though they have the pieces around them to be a Super Bowl team. I would love to see the Cowboys make it again. They haven't had a Super Bowl appearance since the 90s. The Cowboys winning a Super Bowl would make fan bases go wild. We could have the Cowboys win one Super Bowl, and we wouldn't give a shit if they had a losing season for the next 10 years. That Super Bowl... My watch, I swear to God. No one would care if the Cowboys lost after winning a Super Bowl. Everyone would be so high on that Super Bowl win, they'd be like, all right, bet, we're done. We don't need it anymore. We finally got a Super Bowl after Troy Aikman, Michael, and Emmitt. No one would care. No one would care. They would find another villain. They would find another team to be like, oh, damn, they haven't made it. Cowboys win a Super Bowl, Patriots start getting looked at because they have 7. And people are starting to do that. Cowboys win one Super Bowl, the Patriots are going to be the team that everyone talks about. Be like, oh, it's our year. I wholeheartedly believe that. I really do. The NFL season is going to be crazy. The NFC playoffs are predictable. The NFC playoffs are going to be predictable. Right now, the Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, and Commanders, all 4 of these teams could secure a playoff spot in the next 2 weeks. That whole division could go. The AFC playoffs are a coin flip. A coin flip. The amount of outcomes that we could see from the AFC tree is wild. Just wild. And I can't wait for it. Everyone's going to be talking about the AFC playoffs more so than the NFC until we get to the Super Bowl. Everyone's going to tell you, oh, we know this team's going to beat this team in the NFC. But everyone's going to be like, this is going to be a back and forth game until the final team has that possession. Unless you're the Chiefs, and if you got 3 seconds, anything's possible. But that's just my opinion. My opinion. But all right, everybody. That's going to do it for the 4th episode of the KD Kevin Drake Show. And I appreciate every one of you that continues to support this series, this podcast. And I hope y'all give it a like rating and everything like that. Also, if you're enjoying the content, if you're enjoying everything that you hear, and you like my opinions, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. And like I said last week, leave a comment down below. Give me other things to talk about. I do have a comment in last week's video where someone asked me about National Signing Day for the NCAA. I am going to touch up on that, but it'll be in the off season due to the fact that I want to watch everything that transpires with the transfer portal, especially with Dion being in Colorado and so many different players have transferred there already, or have interest in transferring there, along with a bunch of national signings decommitting from that one program just to commit to Colorado. So when it comes to National Signing Day and a bunch of the transfer portal players, don't worry. I am going to touch up on that in a later episode. But until then, we're going to keep it at bay for now. This will be NFL heavy going into the playoffs. Also, we will be talking about the XFL and the USFL when those seasons do commence in the spring of next year. But everybody, subscribe and like to the Deviation Nation YouTube channel. Don't forget to go over on Twitch and follow me on my Twitch channel, Deviation32, just because we do a bunch of wrestling content, Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown. We also, from time to time, do a sidecast for AEW Dynamite and Rampage, and then we also game a lot as well. We play Fortnite, Call of Duty. I'll plug in my PS3. We'll play some solo campaign games like The Godfather 2, Sly Cooper, and then we always looking for games to play as well. Hogwarts Legacy comes out. That is going to be a game that we play a lot on stream. So I really do hope that you're enjoying the content that is being put out week in and week out, whether it be here on YouTube or over on Twitch as well. And when it comes down to it, when the new year starts, I might also be talking about wrestling content, but we might make that another show due to a week when it comes to wrestling and football, because the wrestling world is actually getting really interesting, especially with WWE signing Dragon Lee last night after him and Dralistico beat FTR for the AAA tag titles. So until next week, everybody, I hope y'all enjoyed, and I will catch you all on the flip side. Peace out.